Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Runnerman15, and in today's video, I'm going to be comparing BeamNG.drive to FlexicX. If you guys don't know what FlexicX is, I made a video on it a couple of weeks ago, but basically, it's a free mobile soft body crashing physics simulator, I guess you could say, and it's only on Android. So obviously for today, I'm going to be using Nox, which is an emulator to emulate the game. So my experience may differ from others if you run this game on an actual Android phone, but for the most part, the game should be similar to how the actual game runs. So basically in this video, I'm just going to go through and do a couple different crash tests and terrain tests on BeamNG.drive. Then we're going to do the same thing on FlexicX and compare the two of them. Alright, so we are on grid map in BeamNG.drive to do our first test. Now our first test is going to be a 40-mile-an-hour crash. So we have our gravel D series right here, and we're going to be using this to compare it to the truck inside FlexicX. So let's go ahead and get up to speed here. Let's find a nice wall to crash into. So I guess we'll go like right here. Should be able to accelerate to like 40. Alright, so there was a 40-mile-an-hour crash, and we can see exactly what that looks like. So as you can see, the front grille is all smashed in, all torn up. You know, the sides are all bulging outward. The hood is looks very accurately bended up right there. The actual wheels and stuff don't really look very much affected. But as you can see in the middle part of the car right here, the frame does look a little bit bent. I would say it's pretty accurate. All right, so now let's do a 40-mile-an-hour test where I clip the edge of something with the cars. So we'll go about 40 miles an hour into this wall right here. As you can see, the actual wheel this time actually got destroyed. The frame right here underneath the truck, or at least this part of the door frame right here, is a little bent and tweaked. And the grill's coming off, the hood's all bended in the right area where it hit. So overall, I'd say this is pretty accurate. You know, like the window's kind of deformed, the roof is kind of deformed and stuff. You can see the truck is not level. I would say this is pretty accurate, and this is kind of like the baseline right here. This is the BeamNG physics right here. For our third test, I want to take a look at the suspension. So let's go ahead and see how each game handles the suspension. And then here we can get a kind of feel for how this truck's suspension handles. And keep in mind, this truck and the truck in FlexicX aren't perfect exact copies of each other, but they're both trucks, so I think it'll be pretty similar. So this is it, kind of like driving over some potholes. You see it's kind of rough. Okay, let's try something a little more uniform. We'll try these little bumps right here. So this truck uses, I'm pretty sure, so if we look at front suspension, so yes, the front suspension is an independent front suspension system, and then the rear suspension is a live axle rear suspension, which, you know, I'm not smart enough to know what that means, but I do know what an independent front suspension is. It's when each side can absorb the shock and change in elevation separately. So it makes a lot more of a, it makes the truck wobble side to side less when you're going over uneven terrain like this. And then in the rear, it kind of has more of a straight axle suspension system, or I guess a live axle in this case. I don't know if those are exactly like, I don't know if those are the same thing or what. Like I said, I'm not an expert on like suspensions, so I'm just here to compare both games, right? So this game I'd say has pretty realistic suspension. I think we all know that. It's BeamNG.drive. Alright, the final test I want to do is to jump this truck off of a jump. And I'm not used to this updated version of the grid map. I'm used to the old grid map V2. That was I like that grid map. It was nice, simple. Alright, let's see how the car reacts after it hits the ground. Oh yeah. So you see the car kind of squished out. It bottomed out right here. The frame is like super bent. The truck's like now slammed. I guess it's like a tuner car in the front, and then it's squatted in the rear. So yeah, As you can see, the jump kind of destroyed it, and you would expect that to happen with a normal car if you took a jump like that with it, obviously. So actually, the for real, the final thing I wanted to try is to try driving over some dirt. So we're gonna go over here to the terrains. We're gonna drive over the different terrains just to see how the terrain driving feel is in this game compared to FlexicX. You can see on the dirt, you know, it's not exactly even. You don't have the best traction. Here's some mud. Like I said, one thing that BeamNG.drive really needs to add is like dirt particles and scratches and stuff on their cars, and I feel like it would make this game way more immersive. There's some sand. As you can see, the truck doesn't have the best kind of traction as it does just on the normal terrain. This is just some like the normal cement or whatever. Have some rocks right here, which I think that'll like destroy our truck, so I don't really want to drive over that. As you can see on the grass, you know, it doesn't have the same kind of traction as it does on the normal terrain. Here's kind of like some normal dirt. I would say it's kind of realistic. The only thing that I would say isn't realistic is that the terrain isn't affected by the car driving over it. So as you can see, I can drive this truck over it. It might create some like tire mark textures in the ground, but it doesn't really change the terrain, which isn't realistic. Obviously, if you drive over something like dirt or mud, it's going to change, you know, it's going to affect the actual mud or dirt that you're driving over. As you can see in this game, it doesn't really do that. So I think that's another thing that BeamNG should try adding, but let's see how well it does in FlexicX. And finally, just for fun, one more time, I'm just going to go as fast as I can in this truck, and we're going to slam it into a wall. We're going pretty fast. And we just upshifted, but 90 miles an hour? Oh, yeah. You can see the complete front part of the car is just squished. You know, stuff like the frame, once again, is all bottoming out. It's all bent and tweaked. There are some glitches, like the engine is kind of glitching through the bumper here, and the hood, as you can see, is kind of glitching through the windshield. But for the most part, I'd say the actual deformation itself looks fine. I would say, you know, obviously it's BeamNG.drive, it's going to be pretty realistic. Alrighty, so now we're in Flexi X, and of course, once again, our first crash test is going to be a 40-mile-an-hour crash. So we're going to go hit this wall in front of us at about, I think it was, what, 60 kilometers, about 40? About like 70 kilometers. Alright, so there was about a 40-mile-an-hour crash, and as you can see, very similar to BeamNG.drive. As you can see, the frame is bent. Things like the door is like, they came off. The hood, I would say, is pretty accurately bent as well, and there's no engine. I don't know if the truck... Yeah, so apparently this is like, this has the Bluetooth engine inside of it, so, you know, for the most part, this is, I would say it's pretty similar. I would say it's pretty accurate. I say this is pretty dang close to BeamNG.drive. Let's go ahead and try a impact where I clip one side of the truck on something. Also, the game is kind of lagging kind of bad. That is because it's most likely because I'm running it on an emulator. Okay, so there's a little bit of a better crash. This fender's kind of jank right here. As you can see, there's some kind of weird... Yeah, the fender's a little jank, and the fact that there's no engine kind of makes it look pretty jank, and the suspension looks a little funky too. It's kind of glitching through the map. I don't know what the hell this door is doing. It's like barely attached, not really even attached, glitching into the bed. So as you can see, this game is a little bit more unrefined than BeamNG, at least in terms of its actual crash physics. But I would say it's pretty dang close. For a mobile game, this is probably the closest. I've said it again, I'll say it once more. This is probably the closest thing to BeamNG.drive in terms of just the actual crash physics that we will probably get on mobile. At least anytime soon. And it's at the very least the closest we have to BeamNG.drive's crash physics on mobile at this moment, as far as I know, out of all the games that I've tried. Let's go ahead and do some suspension testing just to get a look at the suspension in this game. So if we turn it to the side so we can actually, we turn it to the front here so we can actually see the suspension, I'm pretty sure this truck seems to have I think a straight axle suspension setup. I don't think it has an independent suspension setup. You can see the both wheels kind of move together. You can see this side lifts up and this side kind of tilts downward a little bit. And the actual whole axle going across is straight the entire time, at least that, just in the rear. And then in the front, and that's a little banged up, but it should be the same in the front. It looks about the same in the front. Kind of hard to tell when it's taking forever. Maybe it's just super stiff, but it looks to me kind of like a straight axle suspension, whatever it's called. I'm not exactly quite sure how it's called. Anyone who knows, how, the different types of suspension systems and how they work and whatnot can correct me in the comments below, I'm sure. But I would say the suspension isn't bad. On this truck it's very stiff. And if I reset the truck here, if I try and turn really fast, the suspension is so stiff, the truck will just like instantly flip over. So if I go kind of fast here and then I just try and turn really fast, you can see, yeah, the truck just flips over. So I wouldn't say that's super realistic, but better than Drive CSX, definitely better than that W Damage game. That is for sure. All right, let's see if there's any jumps around. See if we can take any jumps. Don't like how there's kind of a raised lip right there. It's kind of funky. All right, this one was more of a straight up one. The overall, like, truck feels a lot more squishy. Maybe a lot, or not squishy, but it feels more soft than the truck in BeamNG. I feel like the truck, like the actual rigidity of the frame was a lot more stiff. It was a lot stronger. This game, the frame on this truck is like super soft. All right, we're gonna do one more test where I crash at a super high speed. So I try and get as fast as possible, crash into this wall over here. And then we're gonna check out the different terrains in this game to see how the driving physics are on like dirt and stuff. Boom! Wow, this truck like shredded apart. Definitely a little more glitchier than BeamNG. This stuff kind of all just glitched into the actual truck, but still not bad. I would say this is definitely better than FlexicX. FlexicX, like I said, or not FlexicX, Drive CSX, because in Drive CSX everything just kind of squished together, and pretty much all the other games that we tried, all those cars pretty much kind of just squished together as well. So let's go ahead and find some different terrain here. So I actually do have a no ads option here. Monthly subscription for no ads. There's a monthly subscription in this game to get rid of ads for $6 a month. A month! Wow. Okay, I mean, I would understand like $6 one purchase to get rid of ads forever. A monthly subscription on a mobile BeamNG, I guess, clone, not really, even though the physics, the actual damage model is very similar to BeamNG's, and it's still in a very early state. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's asking a little bit much of people. I doubt many people would actually buy that. I'm just saying, I wouldn't pay any game $6 a month to get rid of ads. All right, so this is the terrain map. It just seems to be some kind of grass. Let's see how the truck handles over some different terrain here. I think this is, even though it like has a grass texture, I really think this is just some kind of default terrain. Like on the grid map, whatever terrain that was, I feel like this is kind of just the same thing, but with a different texture. Let's go ahead and go to the city map, and let's see if the grass makes the car handle any different. So I'm already seeing some grass. You know, this city reminds me a lot of the city from, oh, FFX Runner. That's what this city kind of reminds me of. That kind of like Flash games default city. But this one, obviously, it looks different. I think they did use some different assets. It does look a little bit more detailed, but it just kind of has a similar style. Almost a similar look. Just kind of looks like a generic city, you know? Yeah, I think there isn't really any other terrain types in this game. This just feels exactly like the road. Maybe you have a little less grip. I'm not noticing much of a difference. There might be the slightest amount of just, or there just might be like slightly less grip, but I don't know. It feels very similar to me. That is one thing they could add in this game that they definitely should add is multiple types of actual terrain that affects how the car drives, not just kind of the same terrain, just different textures. So hopefully we'll get something like that in this game, and that's obviously something that BeamNG Drive does better than this. I would say BeamNG Drive just overall is better than this game, but this game is very close to replicating that BeamNG Drive experience, at least on a mobile device, which I think is very cool. And the fact that it's free is also pretty nice. The monthly ad subscription is not nice. I will say that. I'm not paying for YouTube Premium here. I'd rather buy YouTube Premium and not have ads on videos, and I can just watch videos on this game, which maybe that's what you guys are doing. Let me know if you guys actually pay for YouTube Premium down in the comments below. Other than that, that was my comparison between FlexicX and BeamNG Drive. Let me know if I missed anything, and let me know if you guys want me to do anything else with FlexicX. Other than that, I'm RunnerMan15. If you guys enjoyed today's video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. See you guys later. Peace.